Hello, everyone. We're going to talk about the documentary that we chose, A Cowspiracy, a Sustainability Secret. These are the subjects we're going to talk about, so take a look so you know what's going to come. And now I'm going to talk a bit about the documentary itself. Global warming in this day and age is one of the biggest threats that we're facing right now. The Cowspiracy documentary claims to have found a sustainable secret to help us with this problem. They say that animal agriculture is the leading cause of global warming. Not only that, but it's also the leading cause of deforestation, water consumption, and pollution. It is responsible for more greenhouse gases than the transportation industry and is the primary driver of rainforest destruction. And not only that, but nobody seems to talk about it. The leaders of the environmental movement don't seem to mention it in any of their campaigns or their websites. And Kip Henderson, the maker of this documentary, tries to find out why this is. And also have, of course, some facts they talk about. So, for example, they have that 51% of the human-made pollution is from animal agriculture. What's quite shocking.
And now about the ethical issues. So, what ethical issues are present? Well, let's first start at the cause. People are rising out of poverty, a lot of people, because of the flourishing global economy. This increases in abundance, and which will lead to a dangerous appetite for meat. And this also comes with a lot of ethical issues. We are criticizing these issues with the model of 12 ethical principles listed over here. So, to start off with, cows produce more greenhouse gases than the entire transportation sector. Mainly because of these greenhouse gases, our planet will warm up. This leads to global warming, which brings all kinds of complications. The first one, Kip Anderson, the maker of the documentary, found out that raising animals for food requires up to a third of all fresh water on our planet. Hand in hand, this goes hand in hand with Nestle's examination. A calorie of meat requires 10 times as much water to produce as a calorie of food crops. As I said before, middle classes eat more meat because of increasing abundance, and therefore Earth's water resources will be dangerously squeezed. So, looking at the business ethics model, this is not fair for people who shower less for the environment. And secondly, cattle ranching is the leading cause for deforestation. It is responsible for 91% of the Amazon rainforest destruction. Knowing these facts, it is weird that big environmental charities like Greenpeace are unwilling to talk about the effect of the meat industry on our planet. Then we can ask the question, is it ethical for environmental groups to ignore catastrophic environmental issues? So if we would look at the business ethics model and pick two of those words, this does not stand for fairness and honesty. You see that these terms are not fully integrated in any of these climate groups, and it does not stand for their company's mission statement. They also can't be just brutally honest because their companies depend on memberships of people. And let's be honest, a lot of people eat meat. So, which is why they can't just tell people to stop eating meat because it's better for the environment. Following the fact that they ignore the biggest reason for deforestation, which is why they also do not comply with fairness for us.
Going to talk about nature as the first stakeholder of animal agriculture. Raising the animals for food is responsible for 30% of the world's water consumption, occupies up to 45% of Earth's land, responsible for up to 91% of Brazilian Amazon destruction, leading cause of ocean dead zones, species extinction, and many more other nature's disasters. The research shows that methane gas from livestock is 86 times more destructive than carbon dioxide from vehicles. And second stakeholder, and none of the environment protection organizations such as Greenpeace and Amazon Watch has ever mentioned this industry on their platforms. They do not want to talk about it at all. And definitely environmental organizations are failing the ecosystem in general by neglecting the whole industry being the main cause of the environmental damages. Third of all, 82% of the world's starving children live in countries where food is fed to animals in the livestock systems that are killed and eaten by more well off individuals in developed countries such as in the United States, UK, and Europe. A former cattle rancher said that the fact is that we could feed every human being on the planet today an adequate diet if we did no more than take the feed that we are feeding to animals and actually turn it into food for humans. That is possible. And last but not least, the food and meat producers have a very big influence on the animal agriculture industry. Once they become so big and wealthy, then they can dictate the federal policies around producing food because they have so much political power. The government plays a very important role in this industry. A lot of activists who spoke up about this industry got killed. For example, Dorothy Stang, the nun who lived out in Para, got brutally murdered on the street in 2005 after speaking up about this industry. In this way, over 1,100 activists have been killed in the past 20 years in Brazil. Journalist and author Will Potter mentioned that American activists are being targeted by this industry and the FBI. Mr. Potter himself is being monitored by the government for everything that he is doing. The government is definitely protecting this industry without a lot of people knowing actually the reason.
Corporate social responsibility is very important for food industry because it provides human basic needs and has a huge influence on the whole environment and public health. But unfortunately, following all basic CSR rules is a big issue for most of the companies. For example, huge areas of forests are purchased for farming and where animals kept in very bad and terrible conditions. This destroys the ecology there, leads to deforestation and increase the emission of greenhouse gas. Also, most food companies do not donate charitable organizations that can potentially improve the situation. Also, I want to speak about the triple bottom line, which measures the financial, social, and environmental indicators of organization over time and includes people, profit, and planet. Planet is under the great influence of the food industry. Food agriculture leads to deforestation, as was said before multiple times, and in order to keep animals, you need to use a huge amount of water, much more than people use for themselves and for other industries, and this significantly reduces the world's water supply. And next, waste products pollute the ocean, water, and atmosphere. Obviously, people's health and well-being is influenced by all these factors. And as for profit, despite of everything, corporations make lots of money. First, because their product is a basic human need, and next because they prevent farmers from speaking about the details of the business. Now I want to tell about greenwashing. Most of meat companies use such words as all natural or organic in their advertising and put pictures of farms on their packages to show how environmentally friendly they are. But this type of ad is greenwashing because it makes a product look more environmentally friendly than it actually is. Most of the time, the meat is coming from factory farms with a huge environmental footprint. Next is whitewashing. And the example of whitewashing is the company Monsanto, which officially labels themselves as a sustainable agriculture company, and it tries to demonstrate their caring and family-oriented interests. But however, this corporation is responsible for herbicides used in US military during the Vietnam War, and also they use GMO and put small family farms out of the business. Window dressing. The example of window dressing is a new control of slaughterhouses in Flanders. When inspectors check farms there, they make sure that animals are kept in good conditions. But when they see that something is wrong, they cannot do actions immediately. They need to write a letter to higher authorities, which takes many months to process, and it's not clear if any actions will be taken.
Okay, so is inequality a factor in this issue? Definitely is. Although animal agriculture is causing environmental damage, yet they are still one of the most profitable global industries in the world. So if we take a look at the United States, the meat and poultry industry is accounted for 5.6% of the total GDP in 2016. As the American government spent tons of money each year, up to $38 billion, to subsidize the meat and dairy industry, this is what keeps the agribusinesses growing and are able to drive down prices on the market to keep it affordable for consumers. So big meat corporations in this industry does somehow form a powerful group that has the influence and voice in lobbying organizations in the US regarding regulations on food dietary guidelines, for example. There's also a gag law, which is a law against anti-whistleblowers that tries to expose abusive conditions on factory farms and slaughtering facilities. They usually have captured numbers of evidence of animal abuse and want to publicize this. However, it seems like the gag law is protecting the industry rather than the animal activists or journalists. The inequality in how much power some people have in this industry makes it more challenging to make changes for the environment, and the fact that some farmers do their job in a very unethical way. And is this issue affecting social justice and international labor standards? Yes, it does. So while the animal agriculture is the main source for meat and dairy production, it does create a lot of jobs and opportunities for many people. So if we take a look at the US, in 2019, there were 22.2 million jobs related to the agriculture and food sector, whereas 2.6 million jobs are accounted for on-farm employment. Some people who work in the livestock industry may be working under bad working conditions. Think of inhalation of toxic fumes that comes from cleaning chemicals, methane emissions from cattle and their waste, and other toxins that is floating in the air they breathe. Also, as this issue is affecting social justice and international labor standards, many workers come from low-income families. Majority of them are from Mexico and doesn't speak English very well and does not have any legal authorization to work in the States. So when this group of people experience injuries at work, it makes it even more difficult to visit a doctor because of not having the right healthcare. This group of people are being treated differently due to making long working hours, being underpaid, or not having the right working conditions as others. So moving on to the media. So does the media have a role in this issue? First of all, the media is a powerful source for spreading news and awareness, yet a very dangerous place for many who wants to reveal the truth about animal agriculture. So to start with, the documentary itself is a form of media. In the documentary, they try to address to many people where the meat is coming from, what the harms for the environment, and what people can do to reduce their carbon footprint by changing their diet to a plant-based one. And as previously said, Dorothy Stang and the activists that have been killed while they wanted to speak up about animal agriculture in the media is very dangerous. Also, in the documentary, a journalist named Will Potter has addressed that it is very dangerous to publicize information about this industry, and there are even law against it. So it does shows that this industry and the media are very powerful together, and as many of the environmental groups does not want to address animal agriculture in their campaigns, while a lot of brands are using media to promote their meat products for a very affordable price.
Well, if you watch the documentary, it all seems very simple. If you stop consuming animal products, the problem should be solved. Well, part of the problem should be solved. Yet, as we discussed before, it's not as simple as it seems. There are multiple factors that are involved in this. We can't just tell the world, stop eating meat. It may be the best for the planet, but is it the best for everybody inside that's living on the planet? Even true. Like there are many people that debunk the story. It definitely has left an impact on everybody that watched it, and that's also an important thing that the documentary wanted to do. For example, with us, we all were very shocked that the whole thing was all under wraps, that nobody talks about this, that not even the environmental organizations were talking about this issue, because they should be fighting for it, yet they aren't at all. So it's shocking, but is it enough to change our mind? For some of it is, but not fully. So some of us decided to eat less meat or only eat meat on special occasions. But for others, it's more like it sparked up a conversation and it made us think. But it doesn't necessarily make us stop eating meat, because maybe it's part of a culture, or maybe it's part of how we lived our entire life. You can't just force someone to stop eating meat. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening to our presentation, and we'll go further on the question.